Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Law in Lockdown and Beyond podcast. And today I'm really looking forward to speaking to Danielle Judge, who is a VA, works with lots of different people, but does quite a lot of work with lawyers. And until a few minutes ago, I didn't actually know this about Danielle, that she did work inside legal firms for a number of years, both as legal secretary, I think, and then as a paralegal as well. I'm going to ask Danielle to tell us all more about that. So thank you for coming. Danielle, do tell us a little bit more about you and the sort of work that you do.
Thank you for having me. So yeah, I'm Danielle. I'm a VA and I've been running my business for, it will be 3 years on the 27th of January. So my business is called Judge Associates. I did a slight rebrand after about a year. I was initially Danielle Judge Virtual Assistant, but I wanted to kind of grow a small team. So I'm now Judge Associates. So I offer admin support to lots of different clients from different sectors. I work with some lawyers, some marketing agencies, quite a few legal directory consultants, who kind of help with all the legal rankings for the firms. So it kind of in the legal world, but not fully. And compliance companies. So again, in the legal field. But I also work with two lovely ladies who are private autism assessors. So quite a nice variety. Plus there's lots of others in between. But yeah, I typically do admin. So I love, love, love admin, which everyone thinks is really quite strange. But I love it and I love helping people. So being a VA is kind of like the perfect role for me. I do have a team. So I've got one associate who works with a couple of clients for me, and another one who is waiting to come and join the team. And the plan is to grow and have a nice small team of wonderful VAs who, they offer admin, but they will also offer like marketing and social media, which are two things that I don't offer and don't like.
Ooh, well, at some point I might need to talk to you about that. But where did
Yes.
and I've totally gone off script already here, so Danielle's going to take me off later, but where did the idea of growing a small team come from? So you started off out for yourself. I know after COVID,
Yes.
you said it was after COVID you decided to set this up for yourself. What then changed that made you want to build a team as well?
Initially, it was kind of always in the back of my mind that I did. Then I was like, no, I can't. I just need to be myself. But as it kind of just I found my first client very quickly and then it kind of spiraled. I've been very fortunate that I've, been at capacity for quite a while now. So obviously there's only so much that I can do. And when I started out, I was an associate for some other VAs. So I like to be able to help people. So if I can bring someone onto the team, that obviously helps them. And then eventually I would like to kind of reduce my working hours. Because everyone thinks, so, being self-employed, you can do whatever hours you want, you don't have to work as much, but I think I work more. And you can never really switch off because obviously it's my baby and I can't, if someone emails me in an evening and it's a new inquiry, you have to kind of jump on it. So you can never fully switch off. So yeah,
I
having a
get
small
that.
team would be ideal because then I've got, plus also it's kind of isolating being self-employed and going from the roles that I've had previously, being in offices, surrounded by people every day. If you've got a day where you've got no calls, it can be, if you are on your own, quite isolating. So having other people that you can check in with, or even just bounce ideas off, and obviously they have their own VA businesses, so they're fully aware of how it all runs, and
Mhm.
if you've got any like difficult situations or clients, you can bash ideas out with them. So it's nice to
Yeah.
have a little community to be
Yes.
able to fall back on.
Do you know, it's so true because when I first started out as a legal consultant, a bit similar to you actually, and it was interestingly the 3 year mark as well. Loved it, loved it. You know, it was so different to what I'd done before. I was working at home. I could spend more time with the children, theoretically, until, as you say, you get
Yeah,
busier and busier. And then because you're building a business, you say yes to everything and you want to be responsive, so you're available all the time, which is quite natural for someone building a new business,
yeah,
understandably. But then you do hit that point where yes, you're up to full capacity and you couldn't physically take any more on. And also the loneliness. I totally agree with you. Yes, I might have been surrounded by my family, but not around other people who get it or who you could, as you say, bounce ideas around or just understand. So it is, I think COVID reminded us, but I'd already seen it before when I was building that business, that
Yeah,
actually not only are we sort of social animals and we need other people around, but business owners as well just need that interaction, don't they?
yeah. Yeah, especially with other like, because like, your family know what you do, but they don't really know what you do, and
No,
don't
no.
really understand it. If you're not a business
Yeah,
owner, it's completely different to, just being
yeah,
an employee, and just
yeah,
rocking up, doing your hours, and you can kind of switch off and forget.
yeah,
Obviously, not in the law, you can't really do that. I found anyway when I was a paralegal, but typical 9 to 5
yeah.
jobs, you kind of just switch off at the end of the day.
Yes.
Whereas my brain's just constantly like ticking.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that. I understand that well. Yeah. Well, interestingly, linking to what happens to me after that 3 years, one of the things I needed to do and realized I needed to do was bring on some assistance in the form of a VA and eventually a paralegal as well. So I know obviously what sorts of things they did for me, and I know that having worked with you myself, that you would do things like diary management, making appointments, cross-checking different people's different directors in solicitors' diaries to get appointments booked and
Yeah.
all of that sort of thing. But just give us a flavour of what other sorts of things do you do, particularly for lawyers? I know you work with lots of different people, as you say, but particularly for lawyers, what sort of other services do you provide?
So it can be, obviously I've got a private client background. So I don't actually work with any private client lawyers at the moment, but something that I feel I could offer
Mm.
would be, when I was a paralegal, I was a fully fledged fee earner with a caseload of like 100 plus matters, doing wills, powers of attorney, court protection orders, dealing with estates. So I can kind of offer within the private client sector like a more of a paralegal assistance. Um, so it could be, helping with the drafting of the wills or the powers of attorney, or kind of, proofreading them. I absolutely love, love, love dictation. I love putting earphones in and just typing away. So obviously, when I first started in the law back in 2007, it was the good old fashioned tapes. Um, which we had in the small firm that I worked for a number of years, and then it moved to digital dictation. But yeah, I love typing. Just like the
Love that.
autism assessments that I do, that's transcription, and I just love it. I love to get lost in it.
Yeah,
So things like that, and obviously like helping with like bog standard forms that can be filled in, or kind of checking like downloading title deeds, things like that.
mm,
Anything kind of admin based to kind of give the lawyer more time
yeah,
to work on the actual
yeah.
fee earning, rather
Ah,
than all the back end admin, and uploading things that need to be uploaded, typing letters,
yeah.
any sort, and then like as you say, like inbox management, diary management, and sometimes that can be across multiple time zones, which can sometimes be a bit wild when you're trying
I
to.
know. When I agree a meeting time with somebody and they're in the States, I always have to
Yeah,
check about 5 times. Whose time are we actually on with
yeah,
this thing in the diary? Is it their time or my
yeah,
time? Am I at the right? Oh goodness, yes. It is
yeah,
wild. It's wild.
yeah,
What I know you and I have talked about this a little bit before. What I tend to see with lawyers is when they're within a law firm and the services and the support is provided for them, they seem to be sort of fine to use that. They have access to a secretary or dictation or whatever it is, and they use it. But what I find is when lawyers are outside of that environment, whether they're self-employed or it's their own business or whatever it is, they tend to be, it takes a while for people to get around to the idea of paying for somebody's services. What do you think is the difference that it makes? I know the difference it made to me is the difference as to whether I could carry on doing my business or not, whether I was going to burn out and crash out or
yeah,
not. But what sort of difference do you see it make when somebody who perhaps hasn't worked with you then starts working with you?
yeah. I think, for, like we say, if they are, a consultant, they're running their own business and they're on their own at home, just having someone, who's there supporting them, backing them, that is one major benefit to them. And with me, and I'm sure other VAs are the same, like I love all of my clients and their businesses, and I like to be part of their business and, really help them and back them and help push them forward as best I can. So just having that backing, is a massive, makes a massive difference to them. But also, it saves them a lot of time because the admin does take up a lot of time, even just like setting up a file. It's so time consuming, and like doing ID checks and all of the fun stuff that you have to do to even, get started. They can be focusing more on, marketing, bringing in more business, seeing the clients, doing the client facing work, or, the actual nitty gritty of, the actual legal work that they need to do. So it saves them so much time and will hopefully enable them to bring in more business and more money and,
Yeah,
improve, build their client base. And it
exactly.
also would reduce, I can imagine setting up as a self-employed lawyer being completely stressful. Because I know mine was, but obviously, being a lawyer, I can imagine it being, 10 times. And also, like I say, I work with some compliance companies. So there might be other connections that I've got that I can, kind of help,
Mm.
well, I know this company and they do this, so they could help you. So there might be other people that you can kind of tap into through the VA to kind of help um iron out, policies and things like that and make sure everything is kind of fully on board.
It's amazing, isn't it? There's so much. I love your point. I hadn't thought about the point around the actual support, just like somebody else within your business that's not within your business. So it's not
Yeah.
scary step or that sort of thing, but
Yeah.
yet within your business. I really like that idea. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you about the freeing up their time. And also,
Mhm.
it's not, yes, it's time to then go and do things that is within their expertise, that they can charge good fees for or get new clients in or that sort of thing. But also, I mean, I might just be talking about myself here, but I suspect I'm not. It's not always our skill set. You talked about how much you love admin and that attention
Yeah.
to things. I mean, you know this from having worked with me. I'm not very good at that stuff. Like the energy it takes me to take that focus is
Yeah.
massive. So I put it off and I procrastinate over it because I know it's going to be hard for me and I'm going to have to use so much energy. Whereas, give me a client BD event or a webinar to do or, review a lease or whatever, and I'll just run off and do it. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not always within a lawyer's skill set to do all these things. And yet it's within not just your skill set, but you enjoy it. So I always think,
Yeah.
how can we reach that point in our career where we spend more time doing the stuff that we're brilliant at and that we
Mhm.
enjoy and less time doing the stuff that someone else is brilliant at and enjoys?
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes a difference, I think.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's fantastic. So how would somebody know that they were ready to need your services? Who are the right people to come and work with a VA?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that a VA exists. I think it is becoming more and more common, but I'd never heard of a VA. I was a PA for 8 years, and I was in-house, but I'd never heard of a VA until lockdown came around, and I regrettably downloaded TikTok, and then I came across videos and I was like, what is a virtual assistant? And when I then realized what it was, I was like, that will be perfect for me. And um, I think getting the awareness out that VAs are there will help because, like I say, I think a lot of people don't actually know that they're there. But you might have small business owners or like professionals who are in like kind of like high stress sectors. So like lawyers or even like people in the financial sector. It'd be ideal for them because they can just, like you say, just all the admin that they hate, just pass it across. Um, but kind of anyone like who, when you're kind of overwhelmed, I suppose, you then know like, okay, I need to get some help. But I work with quite a few neurodiverse business owners, and a lot of neurodiverse professionals do become self-employed and run their own businesses because they just don't fit into the mold of, being an employee. But obviously they suffer a lot with overwhelm and, you know, like you said, you just put off. But that's what,
Yeah.
a lot of my neurodiverse clients do. So having, they know that they can just pass something across to me that's going to get done. They don't have to worry about doing it. People the same, just like small business owners, tends to be lawyers. It doesn't tend to be like the firms that, the larger firms, because they've got the in-house teams. They don't need it. But the lawyers who are self-employed or consultants, or like the legal studio, model, which I am seeing more and more of, which is good. There might be, the consultants there who are like, I need to bring in more work and I can't whilst I'm doing this. So
Oh,
having that person who I can just get some assistance. And the beauty of VA is you only pay for what you need. So I work either on an ad hoc basis, so we just kind of rack up hours throughout the month, or clients buy, say, like a block of 10 retained hours a month, or 20, or whatever. And then you've got that time. But the beauty is that if you kind of don't, there might be a month where, I don't know, you're going away, you're going traveling for a month and you're not working, or you've got a quiet period, you can kind of pause things,
yes.
so you're not having that, the
Yeah.
outlay of having to pay someone every single month.
Yeah.
It can be quite flexible having a VA.
That's the absolute beauty of it for me. I mean, that's why I
Yeah.
always built my businesses that way, because you're not taking the risk of agreeing to, either a salary or whatever, when you might have months that are up and down, and even the fear of that then stops people.
Yeah.
Whereas the idea that on your busy months, you get more assistance. On your quieter months, you might have less assistance. It's that flexibility is the beauty of it, I think. It really is.
I actually asked ChatGPT the comparison between having a VA and employing. I actually printed it out, so it was quite staggering. So it was kind of basing it on 10 hours a month as a VA, and my hourly rate is 35. So obviously that's £350 a month, which is 4,200 a year. An employed PA, including the overhead, because obviously with a VA you don't have to pay for office space, office equipment, holiday pay, sick pay, maternity pay. You don't have to contribute to pensions or national insurance. You don't have to stock tea and coffee, and all of the good stuff. You don't have any of that. You literally just pay for the hours that you need. So an employed PA, including overheads, ChatGPT told me was £37,040 a year. So comparing that to 4,200 for 10 hours a month with a VA is quite a staggering amount.
Wow.
Obviously, if you had 20 hours a month, it'd be obviously double that, but it's still a lot less. And with the law, I found, especially with private client, you did have peaks and troughs. You'd have like the colder months that might be a bit busier, and then the summer months where people aren't bothered about making a will. People are going on holiday. It's the last thing on the mind. They just want to go away and have fun. Really, they should make sure they have a will in place first, just in case anything happens on that holiday. But it was very much like peaks and troughs. So having the flexibility of a VA rather than someone that you've got to pay regardless of whether you've got enough work for them. Plus then, like if I'm sick, and I'll just, tell my clients I'm going to be around, or I'm not going to be around, I'm not going to be able to do as much, then they know that obviously they're not going to get support for that time, but they also don't have to pay for that time, more importantly. So, but I was quite staggered by the difference.
It is a big difference. And that's why, for small business owners or new startups or whatever, and I know a client of mine has his own law firm, and he's 3 or 4 years into it. There is a pattern here. He does employ people, and he uses a mixture of other services, as do lots of my clients. And I think even if you do have your own firm with quite a number of people, it's that flexibility, even having some employed resource and then the ability to outsource a little bit more. It just gives you that flexibility to spin up when it's busier, or you're going away yourself, or somebody's off sick, or somebody else is away, and spin down when you don't need it. And not just for business need, but the amount of lawyers I know that lose sleep at night to pay people's salaries, wondering if there's going to be enough income coming in to pay those salaries, never mind paying themselves anything. That is not an option. And I just think, until the business is at a certain level, that flexible resource is the only way. I think that's the only way. based on your, as I say, newly found to me legal experience, so you worked inside law firms, 8 years, as you say, on the secretarial side, and then time as a paralegal as well. So you know lawyers pretty well, working sort of in traditional law firms, plus the work you've done as a VA. Why are lawyers hesitant to use services like yours? Why don't more use it, do you think?
I think a lot of it is to do with awareness. And if you are if you're just a partner or just, a solicitor in a large law firm or a high street law firm, that support is already there for you because, they've got the secretarial teams and all the admin help that you need is there in that building. You can just walk up to someone and, or email them. So I think they're just not aware. Whereas the more, like I say, the legal studio model of, the self-employed consultants who are at home or in the office sometimes, they're the ones who are probably going to use the services more of a VA. Plus, I think a lot of people don't actually realise how beneficial it is in terms of the pricing, because people probably think it's going to cost a hell of a lot more to have a VA. But like with that comparison, it's staggering the difference. Plus, I think the law is quite traditional, isn't it? It still is traditional, especially the firms that I worked at, very traditional high street firms. And I just think they like that model of the in-house secretaries, and having, someone there. I mean, it might be different. I left like in the middle of COVID, middle of 2020, I left the law. So I just had like a few 6 months of working from home. Whether the firm that I left is now more flexible to remote working, I don't know, because I'm not really in touch with anyone. But they did quite like to have people in the office so that they could see what was kind of going on and the time that was being spent.
And we do get stuck in our ways, you're right. And if
Yes.
somebody has come out of that sort of firm environment and set up on their own or consulting or whatever, you're right, they won't necessarily be aware. And then what I see also is they fall into the trap of, oh, well, it's my business, I need to keep hold of all the money and couldn't possibly part with it. And I think they miss that opportunity that actually it is an investment, because that you part with that money to pay for some admin support that frees up your time to go and make more money and also enjoy your business more, because you're doing less of the things that you don't want to do, more of the things that you do. And you will always hit that ceiling of how much you can actually do alone. Yeah. Well, hopefully some people listening to this will, if they don't already have the services of a wonderful VA, reach out to one, maybe to you, maybe to somebody in their local area. But if people do want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. And you can drop me an email. So I'm sure you'll pop them somewhere for people to do so.
I absolutely will. I will pop them in the show notes.
I mean, as I say, I've got the legal experience, and my team have different experiences. Obviously, there's a lot of VAs around. The beauty of having a VA is that you don't necessarily need them to be in the same area as you. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to meet clients face to face occasionally. But there's VAs all over the world. Obviously, you sometimes need to make sure that they're registered with the ICO, they've got insurance, they've got contracts, make sure kind of everything's above board. But there's so many VAs from different backgrounds. Like I got my legal background. There's VAs who have come from nursing, who are teachers, and everyone has just got a different skill set to offer and expertise. And I'm quite keen to grow my team and have that, a nice mixture. So like I've got my associates who do the marketing and the social media. But I'm quite keen to kind of grow and have more VAs with legal experience as well, because obviously if someone wants that, and I'm at a point where I can't take on any more, I'd like to, still be able to help them. So growing that team to have a nice mixture of backgrounds, expertise and skill sets, hopefully we can then, service anybody from any sector with any. We also do like a lot of business admin as well as lifestyle admin, which like again with some of the neurodiverse business owners, they can't handle. So I know one of my clients, I was helping him and his wife were looking to move house. So I was on the phone to the agent, setting up all the viewings for them and planning out the route and some random
Wow.
things. I also
Wow.
had a client who him and his family went away on the Eurostar, and his little boys took some. They had like stuffed teddies, some rabbits I think they were, and they lost them en route. Um, he tried emailing the Eurostar and wasn't really getting anywhere with them. So I got in touch with them, and then on the return journey, they were reunited with their stuffed bunnies. So just ran any kind of random thing, we can help with.
There you go. If you're someone who loses stuffed bunnies on the
I can find
Eurostar,
them.
Danielle is the person to get in touch with. We lost my son is 14 and he still has a favourite bear. He's going to go mad at me for saying that. But yes, it fell down the tracks at Manchester Piccadilly
Oh
actually
no.
once, and we had to be like, no, you can't go yet. Someone had to go and get a grabber and pull him out. But
Oh,
there you go. People heard it here. That's what the sort of thing you
yeah.
can help them with. And maybe there's people listening who are thinking, "Ooh, Danielle, maybe I could work with you." So perhaps they could get in touch with you, as part of your expanding team, maybe if
Yes.
they fancy that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'll make sure I put all the contact details down in the show notes for people to find you. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So having heard from Danielle, I hope that maybe it gets you thinking about what support you might need around you, whether that is VA support, admin support, delegation, friends, support networks, whoever that is. I hope that there's been something there for you to think about, whether it's for now or in the future. If you'd like to find any of our other resources that I've created for people in the legal profession, then do visit www.authenticallyspeaking.co.uk, find us on YouTube or on LinkedIn. Thank you.